What is up guys, Andy Forestine Runner here, and today we're talking all about the Saucony ENDORPHIN SPEED after 100 miles. So yes, we've hit that 100 mile mark in the Saucony ENDORPHIN SPEED, and I have to say before we even get into this review that this shoe has got to be up there for shoe of the year. This thing is definitely a contender. So what we're going to do today, as always with our 100 mile reviews, is talk about how I've been using this shoe, of course, with wear and tear, which we'll start with. And then if I plan to use this shoe moving forwards beyond the 100 mile mark, which if this thing is up for a contender of shoe of the year, you better believe that I hope to get more miles in this thing. Super excited for today's video guys. Make sure you give it a like, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel for weekly running content, and as always, we'll start with the wear and tear. So in terms of the wear and tear, with any shoe at the point that you hit 100 miles, you really don't want to be seeing anything major. I know I say this at the beginning of every 100 mile shoe review, but it's true. And for those of you who are new here, I do like to emphasize the fact that really at 100 miles, you've only just started to break the shoe in. And if you're spending the type of money you're spending on a shoe that you are with this thing, which in the UK is £150, £145, I can't remember what I pay for it now. But when you're spending that type of money, which is definitely in the upper echelons of the shoe realm, you really don't want to be seeing anything bad happening to the shoe at that point. And thankfully with this shoe, just the same, there is nothing really going on, bar the fact that it's definitely not the shade of white that we once had it. This thing has been through the mill and back, and we have put some great miles in it. So in terms of wear and tear, the shoe is holding up really well. As you can see on the upper here, just going around it very casually, there is absolutely no snags, no signs of any stitching coming loose. Nothing on the top there, just very dirty. And the beauty of this shoe is it has a lot of exposed midsole to keep the wear and tear down. And I really thought that there would be some snags out of the bottom of the midsole, just where maybe I've gone over the odd rock on a bit of dry trail or something like that. And it's really not taken any chunks out of this thing at all. Bar the fact that it's now no longer a nice shade of white, it has held up phenomenally well. There is one thing that I'd like to say, and that is this shoe has a gusseted tongue, and when I started running in this shoe in the first few miles, it was really comfy to get that lockdown. Now I'm noticing that the upper material is stretching slightly. So when I put the shoe on, I'm actually now getting, if you watch this toe box area here, when I pull the tongue up, it starts to pull in and bunch up a little bit. And I'm noticing whether it's the material, the gusseted material that's holding the tongue to the side of the shoe is stretching, or the tongue itself. But I'm noticing the tongue is now protruding a lot more at the top of the shoe. Not that it makes a dot of difference to me when I'm running, but it's just something I noticed, especially in the last few runs. I thought, I'm able to pull that tongue up quite a bit further than I used to be able to. So where it was a really solid fit across there, it still is, but I'm finding now that I'm getting some bunching in the toe box. As you can see around this area, it's pulling in a little bit tighter. But other than that, this thing is holding up really well. So now on to the juicy bit. How have I been using this shoe over the 100 miles? Well, it really has been a tale of two halves. In the first half of basically the first 50 miles, I very much reserved this shoe for longer runs and also speed workouts. So I remember saying very clearly in my speed and long run test video that I did for this shoe that I felt this was going to be uncomfortable for those easy days. I wasn't going to be gravitating towards this thing. And granted, I still stick by the fact I have better shoes in my rotation to do those easy days in. However, in the second half, I decided to experiment a little bit with this shoe, and I've ended up using this thing for pretty much every single type of run you can imagine. I've done a couple of more easy runs in this shoe. I've done easy, steady, hill threshold work, intervals on rolling trails, intervals on the flats, long runs. tempo run. I've done pretty much everything in this shoe in the 100 miles. This thing has probably had the most versatile testing out of any shoe that I have ever had. And the reason for that simply is that I got curious with it. Towards the end, I got curious. I thought to myself, I don't want to keep reserving this thing for speed stuff. I want to see what this is actually like for easy stuff, because I did an easy run in the beginning and it just felt a little bit uncomfortable. But actually, I've done a couple more easy runs since, and I've been able to restrain myself and maintain the pace and having a really comfy ride in the process. And the reason that naturally in my head I did not want to use this thing for easy runs was because it's got a plate in it, and in my mind I associate a plate with speed, with energy return, with something that wants to make you move. And actually I was able to control it quite well, and I believe that's down to the fact that it's a nylon plate and not a carbon plate, so it's a lot more subtle. Still gives you good energy return, but it's not pushing you quite as much as maybe the Pro or the Next Percent or a shoe like that. So I've actually really enjoyed using it on the easy runs as well. Now, albeit, don't get me wrong, I've got other shoes that I would pick over this thing for an easy run, but what I'm trying to say is, for the price you're paying for this shoe, I'm glad to say that you're going to get quite a versatile package with this thing. Now, I know the Shift is out there. I've seen contradicting reviews from a lot of people. Some people love it, some people hate it, some people say it's too heavy, some people say it's perfect. I've got to say, if you're going to go for two shoes in this Endorphin lineup, I certainly would lean towards the Pro and the Speed, because I think you can actually do what you do in the Shift in this shoe. Albeit not probably as, you're going to get more cushioning in the Shift, it's going to be a bit heavier, it really will restrain yourself. But if you can manage to control the feeling of wanting to go fast, which I was able to do, kind of tame the shoe, it ended up doing really, really well. So I'm really pleased to report that I've given it a good versatile test, and I feel really comfortable in saying that this thing I would not hesitate to recommend to anyone. It really is up there for shoe of the year. Where did it really excel though? I really do feel it excels in the speedier stuff, especially if you're planning to race in the Pro. I still stand by the fact that I prefer the Pro for racing. Again, I've seen a lot of reviews where people say, do you know what, comparing the two, go for the Speed. And I do understand, but at the same time, if you want that real racing feeling, I'm not in that camp. I want the Pro, and I would pay the extra £40, $40 to get the Pro. It does feel a little bit different in my head and on my feet when you put them on side by side. And I have done some testing at home, walking around with one on one foot, one on the other, and you can really feel the difference when you've got them side by side in that aspect. On the whole though, it is a very similar shoe to the Pro, but in a long roundabout kind of way, I'm saying this thing can do pretty much anything, and I'm pleased to say that I've tested it in every single way. So I realised I waffled on a little bit there, but hopefully you got my point. So how will I be using this shoe moving forward? And will I be using this shoe moving forward? Well, yes, I will. Obviously, I now have some more shoes to test. We have the Rincon 2, which is being broken out next week. We have some Ultra Olympus 4, which are going to go out for some trail testing. And we'll be getting another shoe in September. I'm just waiting to see what gets dropped. The Asics Dynablast looks epic. I've got my eye on that, depending on when that releases. Plus, potentially the New Balance RC Elite, the Brooks Hyperion Elite 2. There's so many good shoes, so I've got to be careful which one I pick, but I will get another shoe during September. And that is the downside of testing all these shoes, is that I don't get to take a lot of these things much over 100 miles. But I can assure you that if any other shoe was going to get more miles into it, this thing is going to be up there at the top of the pile to pick. So yeah, definitely I'll be using it moving forwards. And what I'd love to use this shoe for is more of the speedier stuff still. I mean, yes, I could use it on the easier days, but I'll be doing other testing with other shoes. It's going to be a case of if I want to move fast in a workout, this is a shoe 100% in my rotation right now that I would gravitate towards. So for me personally, yes, I'd use it. Yes, I'd recommend it. Yes, it will be long runs and speed stuff that I'll be picking this shoe up for in the future. So there we go. Those are my thoughts on the Saucony Endorphin Speed after 100 miles. Really, really positive stuff from the shoe. Really delighted to deliver a positive review on this shoe, because I do feel on some of the 100-mile reviews I can be a little bit negative, a little bit critical on some shoes, but this shoe I really don't have anything negative to say about it. And as I said, I would highly recommend this thing to anyone if you can get your hands on a pair, because I know they do sort of these drip releases where they release a batch and then they go out of stock and so on and so forth. So if you can get a pair, I would highly, highly recommend it. So that's it for today. If you're still here at the end, I just want to drop a massive thank you in to Seth for jumping onto the live chat the other evening, and for all of you that managed to stay up late and watch it with me. Drop your comments in, show your support. It means the world to me. It was an absolute pleasure to have Seth on the channel. He is just talking to him on a more casual basis, you can just see a different side to him. He is absolutely a top bloke. And of course, when you're watching this, I should be racing the Severn Bridge 10K. So the next video you'll be seeing will be me with a race video dropping, hopefully with some good news. We'll see how we get on, but fingers crossed it'll be a good day, a good result. Weather's looking good as it currently stands at the point of me recording this. So fingers crossed we'll have a really positive day. So that's it for today, guys. If you enjoyed the video, please make sure you give it a like, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel for weekly running content. And as always, I'll see you in the next one. Until then.